This section is called to Higher Ground. It's part of the Seek and Find for the Aaron section. First, we're going to seek God's word for truth by reading the following passage. The Lord instructed Moses, "Come up here to me and bring along Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of Israel's leaders. All of them must worship at a distance. You alone, Moses, are allowed to come near to the Lord. The others must not come too close. And remember, none of the other people are allowed to climb on the mountain at all." When Moses had announced to the people all the teachings and regulations the Lord had given him, they answered in unison, "We'll do everything the Lord has told us to do." Then Moses carefully wrote down all the Lord's instructions. Early the next morning, he built an altar at the foot of the mountain. He also set up 12 pillars around the altar, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent some of the young men to sacrifice young bulls as burnt offerings and peace offerings to the Lord. Moses took half of the blood from these animals and drew it off into basins. The other half he splashed against the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it to all the people. They all responded again, "We will do everything the Lord has commanded. We will obey." Then Moses sprinkled the blood from the basins over the people and said, "This blood confirms the covenant the Lord has made with you in giving you these laws." Then Moses, Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, and 70 of the leaders of Israel went up to the mountain. There they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there seemed to be a pavement of brilliant sapphire, as clear as the heavens. And though Israel's leaders saw God, he did not destroy them. In fact, they shared a meal together in God's presence. And the Lord said to Moses, "Come up to me on the mountain. Stay there while I give you the tablets of stone that I have inscribed with my instructions and commands. Then you will teach the people from them." So Moses and his assistant Joshua climbed up the mountain of God. Moses told the other leaders, "Stay here and wait for us until we come back. If there are any problems while I'm gone, consult with Aaron and Hur, who are here with you." Then Moses went up the mountain, and the cloud covered it. That's from Exodus 24, 1 through 15. Who was invited to the mountain? And what took place while they were there? When Moses went up the mountain with Joshua, what were his instructions to the other leaders? Now, with all of this in mind, read this passage. When Moses failed to come back down the mountain right away, the people went to Aaron. "Look," they said, "make us some gods who can lead us. This man Moses, who brought us here from Egypt, has disappeared. We don't know what's happened to him." So Aaron said, "Tell your wives and sons and daughters to take off their gold earrings and bring them here to me." All the people obeyed Aaron and brought him their gold earrings. Then Aaron took the gold, melted it down, and molded and tooled it into the shape of a calf. The people exclaimed, "Oh, Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of Egypt." When Aaron saw how excited the people were about it, he built an altar in front of the calf and announced, "Tomorrow there will be a festival for the Lord." So the people got up early the next morning to sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. After this, they celebrated with feasting and drinking and indulged themselves in pagan revelry. Then the Lord told Moses, "Quick, go down the mountain. Those people you brought out of Egypt have defiled themselves. They've already turned from the way I commanded them to live. They've made an idol shaped like a calf, and they've worshipped and sacrificed to it. They're saying, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of Egypt.'" Then the Lord said, "I have seen how stubborn and rebellious these people are. Now leave me alone so my anger can blaze against them and destroy them all. Then I will make you, Moses, into a great nation instead of them." But Moses pleaded with the Lord and his God not to do it. "Oh, Lord," he exclaimed, "why are you so angry with your own people, whom you brought from the land of Egypt with such great power and mighty acts? The Egyptians will say, 'God tricked them into coming to the mountain so we could kill them and wipe them from the face of the earth.' Turn away from your fierce anger. Change your mind about this terrible disaster you're planning against your people. Remember your covenant with your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You swore by your own self, 'I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven. Yes, I will give them all this land that I've promised to your descendants, and they will possess it forever.'" So the Lord withdrew his threat, and didn't bring against his people the disaster that he had threatened. Then Moses turned and went down the mountain. He held in his hands 2 stone tablets inscribed with the terms of covenant. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. These stone tablets were God's work. The words on them were written by God himself. When Joshua heard the noise of the people shouting below them, he exclaimed to Moses, "It sounds as if there's a war in the camp." But Moses replied, "No, it's neither a cry of victory nor a cry of defeat. It's the sound of celebration." When they came near the camp, Moses saw the calf and the dancing. In terrible anger, he threw the stone tablets to the ground, smashing them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf they had made and melted it in the fire. And when the metal had cooled, he ground it into powder and mixed it with water, and then he made the people drink it. After that, he turned to Aaron. What did the people do to you?" he demanded. "How did they ever make you bring such terrible sin upon them?" "Don't get upset, sir," Aaron replied. "You know yourself these people and what a wicked bunch they are. They said to me, 'Make us some gods to lead us, for something has happened to this man Moses who led us out of Egypt.' So I told them, 'Bring me your gold earrings.' When they brought them to me, I threw them in the fire and out came this calf." When Moses saw that Aaron had let the people get completely out of control, and much to the amusement of their enemies, he stood at the entrance of the camp and shouted, "All of you who are on the Lord's side, come over here and join me." And all the Levites came. He told them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Strap on your swords, go back and forth from one end of the camp to the other, killing even your brothers, friends, and neighbors." The Levites obeyed Moses, and about 3,000 people died that day. Then Moses told the Levites, "Today you have been ordained for the service of the Lord, for you obeyed him, even though it meant killing your own sons and brothers. Because of this, he will now give you a great blessing." The next day, Moses said to the people, "You have committed a terrible sin, but I will return to the Lord on the mountain. Perhaps I will be able to obtain forgiveness for you." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Alas, these people have committed a terrible sin. They have made gods of gold for themselves. But now please forgive their sins, and if not, blot me out of the record you are keeping." The Lord replied to Moses, "I will blot out whoever has sinned against me. Now go, lead the people to the place I told you about. Look, my angel will lead the way before you, but when I call the people to account, I will surely punish them for their sins." And the Lord sent a great plague upon the people because they had worshipped the calf that Aaron had made. That's Exodus 32. So some questions to ponder and pause as you need. Discuss the circumstances surrounding the creation of the golden calf. Who, what, when, where, why, how. What did Moses find when he returned? And what was his response? Compare Aaron's response to the people's request in verse 2 through 4 and with his reply to Moses's question in verse 22 through 24. Moses took drastic measures within the camp of Israel when he discovered their sin. He drew a line in the sand. Who crossed that line to join him in obedience? What might this also imply about Aaron? And now it's time to find God's ways for you. Both Aaron and Moses were put on the spot, each revealing himself in his response. Share a time when you were put on the spot by other people. What did you learn about yourself by the way you handled it? With whom do you now identify, Moses or Aaron? And why? Discuss steps that Aaron should have taken when the people came to him for leadership. And now it's time to stop and ponder. We can gather our thoughts, but the Lord gives the right answer. People may be pure in their own eyes, but the Lord examines their motives. Commit your work to the Lord, and then your plans will succeed. That's from Proverbs 16, verse 1. And that's the end of the section on Aaron about finding higher ground.